I mean, if I have to summarize, right from my childhood, my grooming and my morals, to the critical experiences around driving value, consumer centricity, and a lot of business understanding, it has been the key journey to my CPG's experience. A lot can happen now with AI. So, yep, that's what I think.
Any barriers when it comes to adoption of emerging technologies across geographies, whether it's a culture or organization, or any regional factors that you think do influence the adoption of technology?
One very interesting question we were trying to answer at Reckitt when we were forming the technology roadmap, because we have at least shifted our mindset that, it's like one size does not fit all.
Right.
So what we have observed is, yes, first of all, people and culture do affect on how technology is kind of evolved, but also situationally, what has been the evolution of that market or geography as well. And the role of the CIO we spoke about earlier has to be being very, very aware of what's happening and kind of enabling technologies, whether you're in a company or elsewhere, catering to those needs rather than just doing solutions for the sake of it, and not being able to drive adoption both at your employee level or your consumer level.
Hi, you're watching The Mainstream. I'm Simran Shiwalkar, your host for today, and we are back with a new episode from our exclusive series called Voice of CIO. Today, we are joined by yet another dynamic leader from the tech space. His name is Mr. Varun Kakaria. Let me introduce Varun. He is currently the CIO for North America at Reckitt, a leading British based global company. With over 20 plus years of experience in consumer packaged goods CPG industry, he has held key leadership roles across major global companies including Philips Lighting, PepsiCo, Infosys, and PwC as well. At Reckitt, he leads the implementation of digital and commercial technology roadmaps, driving innovation in sales, revenue growth management, and pharmacy. Varun's deep expertise in technology, sales, and business processes makes him a standout leader in the tech space. And today we are glad to have him join us, where we'll be covering his journey. He'll also be sharing his insights on the evolving role of CIO, the emerging tech trends, and the future of commercial technology. Varun, firstly, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us and joining us.
Thank you, Simran. The pleasure is mine.
Absolutely. With that being said, Varun, you have had an impressive career, nearly more than 2 decades now in the tech space, across diverse industries. Can you tell us a bit more about how this journey has been? Any pivotal moments that have shaped your career and made any changes towards your leadership approach?
Great question, Simran. And I did a bit of a TED talk last year about it as well. So
Wonderful.
it's coming fresh now to my mind. But I always start with what forms your career is your foundations. And when I say foundations, it's like what my mother says: education is what grooms you and upskills you, and then morals is what guides you in life, right? So these are two strong foundations I would always encourage people to be very aware of, because we think the universities and the experiences are the only one which are contributing to us, but I think the way we groom ourselves when we are growing up in schooling at our home is critical to the kind of role that you play as a leader in the future. Because when you kind of get into uh, corporate world or any other profession that you are in, I think there are a lot of guiding principles that you need to abide by, and especially people around you become very, very important, the way you have become, and they contribute a lot to your success as well. So that's the first foundation, I would say. But professionally, apart from the education, I think what you do really in life matters, and I think some of the pivotal moments have been in terms of the choices I've made, and the guide around 3 P's that I've followed in life, right? So when I say choices I've made, I started my career from a very, very tech centric background. That you mentioned the companies Infosys, HCL, that I they were very, very tech centric. But then I quickly realized that with the changing world, and especially when I joined consulting in PricewaterhouseCoopers, there is a big need to understand what you're doing and what's the purpose of everything that you're doing. And when I say that, especially when you talk to clients and customers, everybody wants things to deliver value. And I think that's the one important pivotal thing that has continued even in my the entire career and today, that what is the end purpose of doing things and how is it generating value. So that's one of the foundational principles I've learned. And I think consulting is one of the most pivotal moments I credit this to, because you need to go to the customers and deliver value. Unless that, they will never invest in you. And that's good for our consumers as well today in the CPG world, that if you're not delivering value to consumers, whether it's tech solutions, whether it's our products, that's the end of it. The second thing is understanding the business, because I think even as a tech person, a lot of people think that tech is all about solutions or coding or AI. No, it's first about understanding processes, understanding what your business is doing, how your consumers are behaving. I think that's the second thing which was a pivotal moment for me, again, during my journey when I moved from consulting to CPG, that you really need to be aware of what your business is all about. Otherwise, even the best of tech, if it's not put to the right use or to the right enablement, is not going to be useful, right? So I think this is one of the key learnings and the key pivotal moments. I think then moving on, I did kind of come across certain key opportunities which really elevate you in terms of the way I entered CPG. My one of the first companies that I did was PepsiCo, and it's a great company to work with. But the way I was able to get into CPG is itself is that how do you kind of do the best work with as I said, three P's: passion, perseverance, and people, because that's how you elevate yourself. And I remember I was working in consulting at that time, and PepsiCo pulled me at that time because of the work I had done for them, the way I had performed. So I think some of these work ethics are very important. But in terms of industries, I think PepsiCo was really a transformation moment, because I learned a lot about the CPG industry there, on how kind of business works, how sales works, how commercial and tech can come together, because PepsiCo was far ahead in terms of how commercial and tech should come together. And that's where my mixed journey of tech and business started. So I think that was a pivotal moment for me. And once then, I obviously kind of moved on in my journey within PepsiCo and some of the other companies. But the next pivotal moment was I was working in a very specific domains, businesses. But then I still remember when Reckitt as an opportunity came to me, it was not evident that I would take it up, right? And I still remember I was having a recent move to Philips and I was doing well. And these are decisions in life that you take that can transform your lives, taking the right decisions on what you really want in life. So um, in the first go, I had not thought Reckitt would be the company for me. And I remember there's a very senior HR in our company. I still credit her. Her name is Frances, on bringing me in. And I always tell her that I'm here partly because of you, because I think what I gained in Reckitt was hugely global kind of exposure, enlightening of how the world was. And I think more than tech, it is about how can your solutions apply to different cultures, different markets. In a way, we are all humans, but I think there is a sense of kind of being different with each other, having commonality. So understanding those differences, understanding the world better, was a pivotal moment for me, and I think that gave me a kind of visibility which I had never before. So this is one of the, and then Reckitt has been now almost 11 years for me. I have done multiple geographies, multiple roles, and I think that has given me exposure in terms of the way different markets work, but also how different people are, right? Because of course you design technology nowadays for people, not just for, it's not just machines doing their job, it's doing something for the people. So I think, I mean, if I have to summarize, right from my childhood, my grooming and my models, to the critical experiences around driving value, consumer centricity, and a lot of business understanding, it has been the key journey to my CPG's experience, which some of the critical experiences I mentioned.
Awesome. And thank you once again, Varun, for giving us a glimpse of your journey throughout the years, right from your days at PepsiCo and now at Reckitt as well. Again, because you've firsthand seen technology evolve and the role of CIO now. It's more than just looking over through implementation or adoption of new tech. per se, having worked across different geographies, how would you now define the role of CIO from your perspective? How do you think this transformation is evolving?
So when I started my career, the role of CIO that was taught to us, let's say, was very kind of infrastructure and operations focused, right? Like you have to be very focused on running the show, focused on core technologies like infrastructure and data centers and security. But I think as you go along, and I told you about how my experiences have been, I think the role of the CIO has become more of a strategic partner with the business. When I say strategic partner with the business, because this is a persona that now understands the business, its nuances, its needs. The role also has to understand its consumers and customers. And hence, I would say it's an evolution rather than a change, because some of these foundations will still remain. You cannot compromise with cybersecurity. Infrastructure maybe has changed from data centers to now cloud. And I think those are learnings we have evolved in that same space as well. I mean, ERP like SAP or other ERPs are still important to the organization. Without this, we will not be able to function. Digitizing supply chain. So, but then you evolve to more front facing technologies as well, because I think in our life, and you've seen it in multiple geographies, data has become the key, right? And how you use this data, how the behavior of consumers is changing from buying offline to kind of spending so much of our time online, right? I think that has led to evolution of technologies that are really connected with the life of our consumers, with the way the business is run. So I would say the shift has been to a more strategic position. We are kind of getting into the role which does that foundation work, but is also involved in front facing technologies like how our sales force gets enabled by our technology, how our digital supply works, how, and I think I know this is AI is a very overused word, but how data can evolve into some of the things that AI can do today, which can really, not just it doesn't become a jargon, but it humanifies AI, right? How lives become simpler of the companies, its employees, how businesses become more efficient, how even today you make choices easier for consumers. So I think all of that is being led by technology. And I think it's a very partnership role that I see a CIO now becoming, but also the responsibility of a CIO being very, very aware of how business and customers are evolving. So that's my take on it.
Right. Thank you, Varun. And along the lines, because you've already, shared a couple of insights on emerging technologies like AI. For a CPG industry sector, how do you think these technologies are making any difference, or is there a shift? Because we have every other day we have new platforms coming into the picture, making new headlines. What is your perspective?
So when we call anything AI, again, it's a very widely used term, right? What has happened is effectively we got data centric as like multiple industries a while back, right? Because data, the importance of data is paramount. What has happened over the years is the computing power has increased a lot. So it's not like the concepts of AI were alien before, but because how the computing power has increased so much, you see things happening even on mobiles today. AI has become more closer to our lives because you can compute better, you can use data better. So for me, the data foundations are still very, very important for companies. And we are not, everybody is not at the same place. So I think before even we go to AI, I think having strong, very strong data foundations in any company that we work with is super important. I think then the role of AI as we define has grown very, very functionally. For example, AI is like a car. When you are driving, it's simple. You know, you need to know very few functions, but there is a big engine that works behind it, right? So that's how AI has become simpler on the outside, but then it is growing by the day. It is helping you automate a lot of mundane tasks. That's the starting point, because effectively you do want to use AI for helping you out. And then it is also driving, and I also always tell the journey from data to information to insights to foresights. So that's a journey I always think will happen. We are now getting good at data to information to insights. But I think a lot of companies will are making this foray and will make that foray into the future on foresights as well. So I think that is the second part that will happen with AI. That how do you get predictive insights? How can you forecast things in the future? And that would help you with decision making, which is much more effective. So that's the second part. The third part is that you will be able to turn around things much faster, and it's not just about automation. Imagine research is happening in the medical world, research is happening in what products that as customers do we need. That used to take a lot of time, and now with AI coming in and kind of the way we can use data, because AI is also about using data wisely, there is a lot of fast track things that can happen. But I think with that, a bit of a caveat as well in terms of how do we kind of really drive responsibility and governance around AI will also become very important, because one things grow, the use could be good, the use could be not so good, right? So I think AI governance platforms, the responsible AI will come into picture a lot, because a lot can happen now with AI. So yeah, that's what I think.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being so comprehensive, Varun. Again, moving next, because you have also worked across different geographies, right from North America and South Asia. From your experience, have you observed any barriers, when it comes to adoption of emerging technologies across geographies, whether it's a culture or organization, or any regional factors that you think do influence the adoption of technology, and also providing that kind of seamless consumer experience?
So this is one very interesting question we were trying to answer at Reckitt when we were forming the technology roadmap, because we have at least shifted our mindset that it's like one size does not fit all.
Right.
So what we've observed is, yes, first of all, people and culture do affect on how technology is kind of evolved, but also situationally, what has been the evolution of that market or geography as well. So what we take now is more of what we call an archetype based approach. Yes, you cannot create a fit for everyone, but I think we definitely can create an archetype on with learning with data in terms of how a certain geography or a certain group of people, their needs are and how their behaviors are, and you can tailor technology to them. So the short answer is yes, and I think we believe in archetyping even technology. How this, and your question was, I think, how do you apply technology based on that, right? So it's more around one, technology at the end needs to be simple, because it's very easy to say things are simple, but how do you create end from an end user perspective things which are simple to use in technology? Because today people do not want complex things in their life. So I think simplifying technology is one job, but you need to also see, for example, if you talk about developing markets like Asia or India, which is foraying ahead, there is a lot of appetite for technology changing very frequently, right? There is a lot of evolution that is happening in businesses. There is also a kind of different business models that are evolving very fast because of the nature of these geographies. Investments are coming in, a lot of startups coming in. So that technology landscape, you have to be more agile and kind of, you can be reactive sometimes. But there are geographies where you need to be very careful on the impact, because there could be big financial impacts because they're already evolved in their landscape around data. For example, North America, where I am right now, is an extremely data rich market for Reckitt. We get a lot of insights from our big customers. We get a lot of consumer insights. But I think the way we can apply that kind of evolved data versus emerging markets where the data is still very fragmented will be very, very different. So in our business, for example, we have very robust solutions that we are trying to do the next gen things. Like you mentioned, revenue growth management is one of the key areas we are trying to build in US. We are talking about AI because AI needs a lot of clean data. So how we kind of execute in our markets, can we be smarter around it? So we have started programs around smart execution. We are using AI from a marketing landscape, because like data can help you understand a lot of customers and consumers. So we are using AI in marketing, and we have started a program called Genesis. So these are some of the kind of developed market focuses that we can do. But if I talk about the other place, I mean, it's the hub of digitalization now, right? Because you are digitizing your workforce, you are digitizing your consumers, with especially if you've seen the trend, social and e-commerce are becoming, and this is maybe global, not just emerging or developed, because earlier we were offline, now then we moved to e-commerce, but I think now we are also talking about how do we mix social and e-commerce, because people are getting a lot influenced in I mean, even our parents are spending time on
Right.
mobiles and reels a lot. So how do you kind of influence that roadmap around identifying what the people are doing and the top trends in geographies, and then tailor your solutions basis that. So it's an important thing what you mentioned. And yes, we are as a company and as an individual, I'm looking at archetyping and customizing technology accordingly.
Absolutely. Varun, again, along these lines, speaking of, you've always been at the forefront of implementing various digital roadmaps in commercial technology, for that matter, at Reckitt. But according to you, because you've been interacting with a lot of business leaders and businesses, perhaps, any common challenge that you have observed or any trend that you've observed so far that has impacted the company's, growth per sales, for that matter?
So I think the trend or the challenge which I've always seen is one which I already mentioned. I mean, it's an opportunity and a challenge as well. I mean, getting data right is one of the key foundations of any company. We are in the world on where we are generating a lot of data from different sources, and especially when you talk commercial or supply or finance, there is a lot of digitization that has happened and that is happening across companies on generating that data, right? Whether it's sales execution systems or crms or the digital supply systems that record data in our factories. But then what do you do with that data? How do you harmonize that data? And harmonize is could be a simple term, but it's a very difficult job to do, right? Because your data comes from different customers, different sources. How do you bring it all together and use it for your decision making? That's, I think, a common aim for all companies now. I've worked across companies in the past, now I'm working here. The challenge remains the same. Yes, there are technological advancements where you can do this faster. And I think all of us in the CPG world are heavily investing into this, with especially the advent of AI. It is more imperative to have right data, because otherwise whatever inputs and insights and predictive, whatever you call it, predictive or kind of post facto insights, will be wrong. And you don't want that, right? You want the predictions and the future of AI to be bright, and data foundations are one challenge I think all of us will have to invest in heavily, and we are doing that. So that's one. And I think the second one is more around you have to be adapting to how your consumers are kind of adapting to technology, because everybody is having technology in their hands. So I think you need to understand how the behaviors of consumers is changing and adapt, especially in your commercial space. How do you sell to them? Like whether we are getting into a kind of hyper targeting era where it's no longer same messaging to everyone. Everybody needs to be communicated in a different way. Everybody's buying patterns could be different. The way I spoke about social and e-commerce coming together, so I think these are things that you need to be really aware of your consumer trends. And the role of the CIO we spoke about earlier has to be being very, very aware of what's happening and kind of enabling technologies, whether you're in a company or elsewhere, catering to those needs rather than just doing solutions for the sake of it, and not being able to drive adoption both at your employee level or your consumer level. So I think these are like, if you, I mean, there could be two or three more challenges, but the biggest I see is these two, and they might have the biggest impact.
Absolutely. Again, Varun, thank you so much for throwing light on these critical issues or barriers that could perhaps hamper the growth aspect of any organization. Lastly, looking ahead, according to you, what do you think would be the next big thing or the biggest trends in technology, and how do you see technologies like AI, data analytics, and even automation continuing to shape the future of CPG sector, for that matter?
It's a great question, Simran. I think we have to look at AI as something that, and there is a lot of fear around AI as well, right? We have to look at how in the future, I think AI will evolve to be very assistive. Because today we end up doing a lot of jobs that are kind of basic and mundane in nature. I think we can really move to a place where as humans, we are applying more strategic thinking and not laborious thinking to some of the aspects of our jobs, right? So that's what I think people need to look at AI, that it helps make us smarter and make our lives simpler. I think that's what I see will happen at least in the next 5 to 10 years, because there will be a lot of progression around, as I said, data will still remain the key, but there'll be a lot of kind of progression around how AI will use this data to help us in different functions. The second part, which I kind of mentioned as well, is how do you make AI more human? How do you make it more accessible? How do you make it cheaper and kind of more simpler for end people to use them in their lives? We mentioned about how mobiles are today using AI, how voice is becoming very important, because today you can be educated, you cannot be educated, but you can speak your language, right? So a lot of people do not have the skills to type or do websites or do some things, but there is a term we use for that, agentic AI. It's a
Right.
common jargon, but I think how real people will start using AI will be the next advent of things, right? So there are two parts of this. One, how does it become assistive in the corporate world, making something smarter, doing things which are automated, removing the tasks which are less strategic, and us focusing on more strategic thinking and growth opportunities, versus consumers, making it simple for them, making them a part of our daily lives, any age group, any kind of education backgrounds. I think that will happen sooner than we think. And I think the next 10 years will be more fast track than the rest 50 have been. With the advent of, in fact, advent of computing power that we are gaining every, I would say, year. So I think that's one big trend, and I know it's a combination of trends that I said. I think the second big thing will be around how kind of digital and automation will play a role in, and I think it's also related to all of that what I spoke around, innovating faster, right? We are, as companies, we take a lot of time to innovate products. Also, as I said, in many fields, research will get very, very fast,
Right.
because of, imagine a legal system. I mean, I'm not talking offhand, not CPG, but where you have so many documents to study. Imagine half the judgments could be based on some of the past patterns of what is right, what is wrong. Medical research is one, product research is another one. So I think there are a series of events that would happen that would leapfrog us in the next 5 to 10 years on what has happened, which would have taken a long, long time in the past. So I think these are things to watch out for.
Fantastic. I think that sums it up very, very well. And thank you so much for sharing your perspective on this. I think, would it be safe to assume so that technologies like cloud computing or AI would be elevated to next level in the coming decade? Like AI would become rather super AI when it comes to its functionality and, its transformation overall.
Yeah, I think we should say AI as it grows will become more simple for us. That's
Okay.
what I would say. And the growth of AI is in the proof is in the pudding, is then when it becomes part of our daily lives,
Right.
and we start understanding it better on what it can deliver for us. So I think that is one of the clear things that would happen. And I agree with you, with the growth we are seeing in cloud computing, it is going to come to us sooner than later. And I think if we are able to responsibly use AI and not fear it, I think that's the next step of the world that will happen very, very soon. And I think as people, we are very adaptive. We have been with any trend of technology that has come in the past. And I think this will be also dealt with very well. And I think people across the world are thinking about it. So I think we are in good hands. And all of us are thinking really, really well about it. So hopefully we'll get there in the right way.
Absolutely, rightly said. So I think we all can agree to that. And again, wrapping up, Varun, thank you so much for providing your deep insights and sharing your own personal views and use cases as well. I'm sure our audience has a lot to take away from this session. And while we conclude, I certainly look forward to connecting back with you again.
Thank you very much, Simran. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you.